Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are the
FAIRtax Guys.
Continuing on a weekly basis to do as much as we possibly can to rid the country of the IRS virus, put the Internal Revenue Service out of business, get rid of the income tax, and replace it all with the fair tax.
Yep, and I've got more documentation. That IRS virus has been around for over 100 years.
Now, speaking of that IRS virus, you remember that crazy little mask you had a couple of weeks ago?
Well, it just so happens I have a better one now.
Oh, good. Well, actually, I have a better one now, too. Watch this.
It's upside down.
It's upside down? Yeah. That doesn't work. Okay. You might have to re-edit that, and we'll do this. There we go. There you go.
WTOB, all right.
Yeah, I think Bob Scarborough had pity on you when he saw that thing, and he sent this WTOB good guy mask. Again, we're going to be going up there on July the 5th and doing a live FAIRtax Power Radio.
Yep. And we got this is a new item in the FAIRtax store, the FAIRtax logo store. So, but it's fogging up my glasses, so.
There's yours.
All right. Oh, thank you. Excellent. Great.
So there we go.
I'm looking forward to that. That's only about 4 weeks away.
You can't understand what you're saying when your face covered like that. There we go.
Anyways, so now, today we were going to concentrate.
We got off track here, didn't we? Where we're going to go? Oh, we got lots to do today.
Yeah.
And, let's start with the Congress.gov that we didn't get to do a great deal of last time because we had to make time for the video interviews. There's some good stuff in there this time.
There certainly is. I looked at it this morning.
Again, we go to Congress.gov, use the search function, type in the words Internal Revenue Code, surround them in quotes, and you hit that. And as of today, when we're recording this on June 4th, you get 1,635 hits on that search. And there are some goodies in here because S3875. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide bonus depreciation for certain space launch expenditures and for other purposes. What state do you think that came from?
Let me guess, Florida?
That was a Florida senator, Marco Rubio, trying to bring home the bacon. Yeah. And of course, people in this, I'm all for making the Florida economy as strong as it can possibly be because that benefits us. But that is another example of picking winners and losers. Somebody gets a break that somebody else doesn't get. Somebody else has to pay for it, and the tax code is full of stuff like that.
Yeah, because SpaceX is a private company. It's not.
Yes, it is now.
They work with NASA for their launch facilities, but SpaceX is a private company, and whenever you start using the tax code to help this company or help that company, you're just making things worse. I mean, your intentions are good, but you're making the tax code that much more complicated and convoluted.
So Senator Rubio, if you want to sponsor something good, get on board with the fair tax.
There you go.
We could use a sponsor in the Senate. We don't have one yet this year, which is rather surprising.
Yes, and I would remind Senator Rubio that when he was running for Senate, he spoke very warmly about the fair tax, but since he's been in Washington, he doesn't seem to do much about it.
Yeah, oh well, we'll just have to stay on him.
What else you got there?
I have got H.R. 7079. Now, this is a pretty good-looking one, too. To amend the the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide a tax credit to ensure that businesses are properly cleaned and disinfected when stay-at-home restrictions are lifted and to help prevent further infections.
So
Are you serious?
We need an amendment to the tax code to make sure people clean up their businesses because why? They're too stupid to do it by themselves?
I don't know. What leaped out at me on that one is Steve Hayes has talked several times in his chairman's reports about how broad and vague and general the tax code is.
Yeah.
This says properly cleaned and disinfected. What is properly cleaned and disinfected? Who gets to decide what's properly cleaned and disinfected, and who gets the tax code? Who gets the tax credits? I mean, that is just insane that something like that would be in the tax code.
Yeah, Yeah, and you know what? I don't need the government to help me to figure out what's properly cleaned and disinfected.
Yeah, if I own a business and I know that people are not going to come into my business if they don't feel safe, I'm going to properly clean it and disinfect it myself without the tax code making me do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That's H.R. 7079 from Darren LaHood in Illinois, 18, District 18. There are a couple more little goodies down here, too. H.R. 6992, we've seen several bills along this kind, to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to encourage domestic insourcing and discourage foreign outsourcing. Now, we had one not long ago that specifically was talking about bringing the pharmaceutical manufacturing back.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little broader. It just says, we'll just encourage domestic insourcing and discourage foreign outsourcing. That is Bill Pascrell, New Jersey 9. Hey, Congressman, I have a news flash for you. If you want to encourage domestic insourcing, discourage foreign outsourcing, get on board with the FAIRtax.
Absolutely.
Because eliminating the corporate income tax will do more to accomplish that goal than anything that you can name in that bill. And these things don't have the text in them yet, so I can't really tell.
You won't be adding another few hundred or a few thousand pages to an already 75 or 76,000 page tax code.
Yeah, I was hoping these things would have some of the text published with them, but these are too new. They don't have the text published. It takes a while to do that. And okay, one more time.
Okay.
S 3757, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide incentives for business and employers to help fight against COVID-19 and for other purposes. Again, why do you need that kind of thing in the tax code to encourage something that reasonable people are going to do anyway?
What have we been doing for the last 3 months but fighting the COVID virus?
Iris virus.
Yeah, well, we've been fighting the Irish virus for over 100 years.
This is cool. I like the little good guy on there.
All right, we need to get on. Our theme today was
the airlines make you wear these things when you wear them. So when we're flying up there to do the show, I'm going to have that.
So you're going to have those on.
See what that's all about.
Good idea.
Yes, we have a theme today. It was something Kat Kamek brought up when we talked to her a couple of weeks ago when she was signing the FAIRtax candidate pledge. Again, she's running to replace Congressman Yoho in Florida District 3, who is retiring. And of all of the things that Kat mentioned, and she was well versed in the FAIRtax as a small business owner and thing, but the thing that really struck me the most was she looked right in the camera and says, the income tax is un-American.
Yeah, and that's today's theme.
It is just un-American in nature. So thanks for the idea, Kat. We kind of knew that all along, but we want to establish and expound on that a little bit here. And you just happen to have a copy of the Constitution pulled up on your computer.
Yep.
And I'll have mine here in just a second.
I'm going to I'm not going to read the whole Constitution, obviously, but the sections that pertain to taxation. Okay? Article 1, Section 7, the legislative process. First paragraph. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Okay, so it's very simple. And I think most people who are somewhat familiar with the American government know that financial bills start in the House of Representatives.
And they get referred to the Ways and Means Committee, which is why it is so important that we as FAIRtax volunteers and supporters lean on those Congress critters in particular that are on that particular committee and sell them on the idea that the FAIRtax will fix your insourcing, outsourcing problem. The FAIRtax will fix the jobs issue that we've got. The FAIRtax will fix all of the unfairness that is inherent in the income tax code. It fixes so many things. So Ways and Means guys, get on board with us.
Yep. And remember, even though the Democrats are in charge of the House, they've got the leadership, there are members of both parties on the Ways and Means in all the committees, okay? So whatever party your congressman is associated with,
but I don't
step up and hammer them.
I don't think rank and file Democrats like having withholding from their paychecks. I don't think they like revealing all their personal information to the government. There is so much about the income tax system that does not affect your political ideology or anything, what party you belong to. Everybody would like more money in their paycheck. I think everybody would like to get a refund every month. Everybody would like getting rid of tax returns. I mean, it is not a partisan issue. Never has been.
And we know this from when we set up an information information booth at public events, you're absolutely right. People really don't like that aspect of the income tax. Unfortunately, they've gotten too used to it. Okay, back to the Constitution.
Yes, okay.
Scroll down a little bit to Section 8, first paragraph again. Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes as duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debt, provide for the common defense, and the general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Is the income tax uniform throughout the United States?
Well, it screws everybody, but no, it is entirely unfair.
It is uniform in that.
It is uniform in that regard, but as we looked at some of the stuff in Congress.gov, it favors some groups, disfavors others. It has been used as a political weapon against the party who happens to be out of power. You know, there are so many things at the IRS, something we talked to about with Tony McKnight.
Oh yeah.
If he's a firearms dealer, if the administration doesn't like firearms dealers, he gets audited every year for like 2005. He said
on both the personal side and the business side.
So it can and has been and will continue to be used in a politically motivated manner to encourage the things that the party in power likes and go after the folks that are on the other side.
It's kind of, and as far as the income tax goes, it's kind of like Animal Farm. You know, some people are more equal than others. Yeah. Okay. All right. Finally,
but scoot on down a little bit. This is the one that really is important.
Go ahead.
No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid, unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. Translation, no income tax allowed.
Yeah, that's right. And whatever tax they wanted, and they mentioned duties, imposts, and excises, those are all forms of consumption tax. Nowhere in the original Constitution does it talk about an income tax, because the framers of the Constitution and our founding fathers abhorred the idea of an income tax. Okay.
Now, you didn't highlight this next sentence, but dig this. It says, no tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any states. Now, how much of a component in the prices of our export goods is stuff that's imposed by the income payroll tax system?
Yeah, and especially when our stuff goes overseas. Now, I'm going to add to this because I just found this today. I've been reading a book on Coolidge by Amity Shales, and got to this part. Coolidge had just been elected Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts, and in that capacity, he was the chairman on the Committee on Warrants. And that is, in other words, watching expenditures and so forth. Watching the rush to spend, he could now see more than ever that the mechanism was broken. At both levels of government, there was a problem. Neither the state nor the federal government possessed a real budget plan overseen by executives. The money spent was usually approved by individual legislation, so that even a governor or the U.S. president did not have much control. Now get this part. And the new income tax made the damage worse. The new machine was there to raise money, but no machine was there to control how it was spent. By the end of the fiscal year 1915, 2 years after the beginning of the income tax, by the end of the fiscal year 1915, the staff at the Bureau of Internal Revenue in Washington had reached over 4,700 people. 2 years. 2 years, okay? Congressmen were having trouble even understanding the new income tax, and the same is true today.
And then it was only 2 years old. It was just a couple of pages long, and now we've got 70,000 pages of statutes and regulations and court cases that we have to know all about, and you just can't. Excuse me. You just can't do it. Nobody can understand it all.
It's great. So that was timely. I mean, I just read that today when I took some time to read. So the income tax has been around for over 100 years. It's the IRS virus all over again. It's been around, and that's why we need these things to combat the IRS virus. Okay.
But I like what Kat said about the It's un-American because it penalizes productivity, it discourages innovation, and it drives, businesses overseas. We've talked about the inversions here a lot on FAIRtax Power Radio, but the results of what it does is just contrary to the entire vision that the founding fathers had for this country.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we got it at a time. Woodrow Wilson was the president. He was, they talk about it in the book, and I've seen other references. It was an era when there was a very progressive area where they thought the U.S. government could do a lot of stuff for people, and there was a lot of wealth envy too. Frankly, it was a lot of wealth envy.
Yeah, but that's it. Who was it? Ronald Reagan that said the most terrifying words in the language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you."
Oh yeah.
So when the government's trying to help you, look out.
So, anyways, we wanted to continue with this theme of the tax being un-American, and what are some of the problems that it causes? Well, according to the Congressional Research Service, and by the way, informing the legislative debate since 1914.
Okay, I'm trying to get my copy of that up here, and we're having some issues, so go ahead.
Well, I've got this one. All right, now, everybody sit down and relax, because this item is 26 pages long.
Oh, good night.
Okay. I've highlighted a few salient points here, all right? Fortunately, they start out with a summary. That's really good that they start out with a summary, because there's no way we're going to go through 26 pages.
That's a good idea, yes.
All right. News reports in the late 1990s and early 2000s drew attention to a phenomena sometimes known as corporate inversions or expatriations, instances where U.S. firms reorganize their structure so that the parent element of the group is a foreign corporation rather than a corporation chartered in the United States. The main objective of these transactions is tax savings. Oh, where have we heard that before?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they involve little or no shift in actual economic activity. Well, of course, Congress didn't like that. So in 2004, they passed the American Jobs Creation Act. Okay, and what it did is it put the screws to the corporate inversion. So first, and we've mentioned this before, they create a tax code that's so onerous that it drives companies overseas. They actually want to move their headquarters to another country to save tax money, and because Congress is creating a tax code that forces them to do that, Congress wants to penalize them. First, they go out calling them un-American.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, they are corporations. They are corporations, and they're there to make a profit. They're not there to, satisfy some people in Congress.
You would think that economic incentives rather than political punishment would be the way to do that. And the way you keep people coming into this country, bring other businesses into this country, keep our businesses from leaving, is just to make the United States the most economically viable choice they can make.
Yeah.
They go overseas because it's cheaper, and it's less of a hassle to do business overseas than it is to do here because of the Byzantine income tax code here. So again, the fair tax gets rid of all that. The corporate income tax goes all the way down to zero. Compliance costs disappear. It is much cheaper to do business, and that's how you bring business back into this country and keep it from leaving.
And yet these Congress critters don't ask themselves, why are these companies doing this? No, they think first thing they think is punitive measures to force them.
They do the same thing. If they need to buy something and it's on sale at a store across town, they'll drive across town to save money.
Yeah.
Just that's a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But they don't say, oh, well, you've got to stay in your neighborhood and shop in your neighborhood because it's your patriotic duty to do it. No, you shop where it's in your economic best interest to do so. Companies locate themselves anywhere on the planet where it is in their best economic interest to do so. So if you want to fix this stuff, fix the problem. Make it economically viable for people to stay here. End of story. Fair tax does it.
Yeah. And when you have a tax code that's so onerous that it's driving some companies to set up their plants in communist China, you know you've got a problem with the tax code. Mm-hmm. But these people refuse, people meaning our friends in Congress, they refuse to look at the real source of the problem. and they have seen the enemy, and it is them.
Yeah. This article mentions we had a whole big list of companies that have left, and this mentions some of them: Pfizer, Chiquita, Burger King, Abvie, ABBVIE. I'm not sure I remember that one. But all of these people who are companies who used to be American companies have fled.
Yep. It's sad, you know. So
it's un-American.
They passed this law in 2004, and they talk about, you know, some of the aspects of the law. And soon after, several high-profile companies indicated an interest in merging with non-U.S. quarters. In other words, they found a way around it. All right, they found a way around it, and well, they're just so upset now. Compare that to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, where they started cutting corporate taxes and cutting the repatriation tax. And what happened? Some of the companies, started coming back and building plants here.
Yeah, the rate was cut from, I think the highest rate was 39% down to 21%.
Something like that.
And companies were giving out bonuses, they were giving out raises. I mean, the economic activity that engendered was amazing. So think about what would that look like if you cut it from 21% to zero.
Yeah. So,
Tony said even 5. No, we'll go with the 0.
It even mentions here in this article, in December 2017, Public Law 115-97, popularly known as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, lowered the corporate tax rate as part of the border tax reform, which some argued would slow the rate of inversion. Well, yeah, that's exactly
most
what
of
it
them
did.
are gone already. That's closing the barn door after the horses done got out.
Yeah, jeez. So then, and by the way, I want to thank my wife for finding that issue. That article, and nope, that's the wrong one. Oh, this is the one. All right. Okay, now here's another article that she found from the National Bureau of Economic Research. I am not going to attempt to state this guy. It's by 2 PhD economists. All right, one is at the University of Chicago, the other one's from Harvard. Mr. Egsaget. Okay, and I'm not going to attempt his first name because if I mess it up, I'll be thrown off the air. But anyways,
don't even spell it.
This is a very scholarly study, so I've picked out the parts that we mere mortals can understand.
Okay.
All right. Innovation is the source of technological progress and ultimately the main driver of long-run economic growth. That makes sense. All right. In recent work, with several co-authors, we have studied. We have shown that the U.S. states that produced the most innovations also grew the fastest over the 100-year period from 1900 to 2000.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So you go down a little farther and said, given all the important consequences of innovation, it is essential to understand how public policies impact innovation in the United States and across the world. Our joint research agenda explores the interplay between taxation and innovation. All right, they lay it right out there. Okay, major changes in U.S. tax policy, such as those in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, raise questions about whether higher taxes stifle growth, productivity, and innovation.
I don't think there's much question about that.
Yeah. And finally, if innovation, like many other economic outcomes, is the result of intentional effort and investment, then higher taxes will reduce the expected net return on these inputs and lead to less innovation. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a very technical way of saying that our current income tax is un-American.
And what has been a hallmark of the American experiment
is
free to innovate. You've got freedom here that if you wanted to innovate, you can.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
The government has slashed all kinds of regulations on it now, which hopefully the president has started to get rid of some of them anyway. But anything that stifles innovation, that makes it harder to do business, that drives business overseas, that drives jobs overseas, by definition, is un-American.
Yeah.
I'd say it's anti-American.
Yeah, yeah.
And our tax code has been doing that. Kat hit that out of the park when she mentioned that the income tax is just simply un-American in nature, and we need to get rid of it.
All right.
And that's why we need the fair tax.
So when you're writing to your congressmen and senators, that's one of the points you can use. The income tax just flat out is un-American because it stifles innovation and economic productivity.
And again, if you missed that episode from a couple of weeks ago, we were talking to Kat Kamek, who is a candidate for Florida 3 U.S. House. And if you'd like to help us out a little bit, if you've got candidates in your area of the country that would be willing to sign the Fair Tax Pledge, go to fairtax.org. Download a hard copy of the candidate's pledge, take it to their office, or if they have town halls again, you can take it there. If you can get pictures or if you can get video of a candidate signing that pledge, we'd love to see it. The FairtaxGuys@gmail.com is where you can send it, or send it to our Facebook page. But anyway, if you can get that, we'll put it on the air here for you.
Okay, all right. Time is moving along here.
Yes, it is.
All right. We need to wrap up with our call to action. Okay, and the first one is we encourage you to join the AFFT, the Americans for Fair Taxation. That's the national group, what we here in Florida call our mothership. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. You can join without contributing any if you can't afford it, whatever. We encourage you if you can send up a few bucks, or even if you can join the 1040 Club, fairtax.org/1040, in which you commit to sending them $10.40. Where'd they get that 1040 from?
I think it's from the income tax form number.
Yeah. Join the 1040 Club. Anyway, support the efforts.
That's not a form 9857 or something.
So support the AFFT because they work. Again, we are all volunteers. Every single person in the fair tax fight on the national or the state level is volunteers. All of us. There are no paid positions. So, but we do have expenses. So support the national group and support your local group too.
It would be. I'm saying it's just as important to get your state level group, especially if you're in a state like Alabama or Georgia that is looking at replacing their state income tax with a consumption tax modeled on the fair tax.
Yeah.
And when that works, I'm going to be optimistic here. When that passes in Alabama, it's going to be on the agenda here for I'm not sure, next year or whenever.
Well,
maybe it's later this year.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think their legislature has taken it up this year. I'm not sure what the status is.
Okay. Well, once that's in place and working, and everybody sees how well it works.
Yeah.
Georgia's going to be behind them. Nebraska's going to be behind them.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hopefully we can get that to the entire country.
Bob's having a little take a drink there. I'll do the next one.
Okay.
Okay. Share these videos, all right? FairTax Power Radio videos. We've got our own website, FairtaxGuys.com. We have a YouTube page. Of course, we're on Facebook. And we've had, like last week, we had over 3,000 views of our FairTax Power Radio on Facebook.
Mercy.
All right. Yep. And and I think in the future you're going to find us on other websites too. We're going to try to spread out and be as available as possible.
Yep. Check us out on WTOB Sunday morning, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
We'll be up there live on July the 5th. Mm-hmm. And that's just about going to wrap up this edition of FairTax Power Radio. Again, thank you so much for watching and or listening. We do appreciate that. And if you would continue to spread this around, we appreciate it. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
FairTax Guys reminding you the fair tax is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton, one of the FairTax Guys, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to apply, clean, remove, and reposition the new FairTax bumper sticker now available in the FairTax Logo Store at fairtaxlogostore.org. Now, this new sticker is made with new technology that allows for easy application. You just peel off the backing like you would with any ordinary bumper sticker and apply it to any surface of your vehicle. It's especially made to stick to metal, glass, or plastic. Cleaning is a breeze. You simply wipe off any dirt with a damp cloth or towel. And it's car wash safe. You can run it through the car wash as many times as you like without worrying about it becoming dislodged or torn during the process. But the greatest thing about this new sticker is that you can remove it and put it back anytime you want as many times as you want. You can reposition it and it will still have that like new appearance. And best of all, this new sticker will not damage your vehicle. It won't tear and it won't leave any adhesive residue behind. You can get yours by visiting the FAIRtax Logo Store at fairtaxlogostore.org. Oh, and don't forget to watch FAIRtax Power Radio on Facebook every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.